Does it show that it's recording?
Can't see it.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I'll start with a disclaimer. This study group was created by and for students pursuing a BCBA, BCABA certification. None of the members are BCBA, BCABA at this time. The discussions, collaboration, questions, and suggestions during this meeting are meant to help all members have a better understanding of the BACB 4th edition task list concepts. However, the team leaders, which are students, and all other students are responsible for verifying the accuracy of the information provided during each meeting for their own understanding to successfully prepare for the BCBA exam. It must be known that as students in the field of applied behavior analysis, we must act in a professional and ethical manner at all times. Ethical considerations: no specific questions from tests will be discussed during this meeting. No specific questions from paid resources will be discussed during this meeting. No specific identifiable client information will be shared during this meeting. If any open sources, peer-reviewed articles, or books are being referenced, credit must be provided to the author. Okay, I'll share my screen. Let me see. Okay, do you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to be discussing 3 main points: state and plan for the possible unwanted effects of reinforcement, unwanted effects of punishment, and the unwanted effects of extinction. So as a start, I wanted to do a refreshment and ask you guys, what are the 3 principles of behaviors?
Punishment, extinction, and reinforcement.
I can't hear you, sorry.
Punishment, extinction, and reinforcement.
Correct. So punishment, extinction, and reinforcement. Okay, what does reinforcement do?
Increases the future frequency of the behavior.
Correct. What else?
So we're not doing F tonight, Laura?
Excuse me?
We're not doing section F tonight, Laura?
No, we're doing section C, but I wanted to refresh on those.
Oh, okay, I got it.
We're going to be using them to see their unwanted effects.
Okay.
Just like make it quick. So as you said, increase the future behavior. It also creates stimulus control. Here, I'll put it for you. So it makes antecedent stimulus condition relevant, change what comes after and before the behavior, so to increase it, and creates stimulus control, responding more likely in the presence of a reinforcer rather than in the stimulus rather than in its absence, which is S delta, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is a punishment?
Decreases the future frequency of the behavior.
Correct. Okay, extinction.
Withholding reinforcement.
It's stopping reinforcing a behavior that was previously reinforced, right?
Mm-hmm.
More effective with a behavior that is on continuous schedule of reinforcement, and more effective if combined with punishment. And it is not a punishment procedure, right?
Right.
Okay. So this, when we add a stimulus and there's an increase in future behavior, what is it?
Positive reinforcement.
Reinforcement.
Okay. When we add a stimulus and there's a decrease, what is it?
Negative reinforcement.
Positive punishment.
That's
Yeah,
positive punishment.
positive punishment. Yeah.
Because there's a decrease in the behavior. When we remove a stimulus and there is an increase,
Negative reinforcement.
Negative reinforcement.
okay, and when we remove a stimulus and there is a decrease,
Negative punishment.
so reinforcement, we have two types of reinforcement. What are they?
Positive and negative.
Positive and negative. Under positive, we have 5. What are they?
Roger, sorry, reinforcement.
Block.
Sorry.
No.
That's, I think, feed or eat or something
Yes.
like
Yes.
edible,
Edible.
activity,
Activity.
tangible, sensory, and social.
Mm-hmm.
EAT.
Okay. And for negative, what are they?
We need a hint.
Mm-hmm.
Escape and avoid.
And avoidance, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. For punishment, we have positive and negative. Under positive,
Mr. Roger, reprimand, overcorrection, ROCR.
we have reprimand, overcorrection, shock,
Overcorrection,
and response blocking. Which response blocking is not extinction, right?
Correct.
Okay. And under negative, we have 2 main ones, which are
Response cost and exclusionary.
and timeout.
In timeout, yeah.
Response cost and timeout. Okay. Yeah.
And in response cost, we have
Cost. Direct fine and bonus.
correct. And in timeout, we have
Exclusion. Mm-hmm.
non-inclusionary and
Exclusion.
okay. Again, what is under non-exclusionary?
Ignoring.
Plan ignoring. Mm-hmm.
We have planned ignoring, withdrawal of a positive reinforcer, contingent observation, and timeout ribbon. Okay, we're all familiar with that, right? And just as a reminder to when we talk about what our punishment is. And under exclusionary, we have timeout room, partition timeout, and hallway timeout. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what we're talking about in C is unwanted effects. One of them is unwanted effects of reinforcement.
Cookie Monster, like person is focusing on more the reinforcement rather than the activity.
Okay.
Going behind.
Okay. And then there's also temporary effects only, like once we stop reinforcing, the behavior reoccur. And why is that?
Because we didn't think the schedule appropriately. We didn't teach appropriately. Like we didn't teach a client we didn't reinforce with the natural contingencies.
Correct. So we didn't use natural reinforcer. We used contrived reinforcer rather than natural reinforcer. Right. So this is here. So only use it when natural consequences fail as reinforcers. Instead, try to use reinforcers that are a behavior's inherent function. They would support its maintenance. Correct? So use reinforcement that are in the same function as the behavior. For example, if we're promoting reading and giving them like fun activities in reading, that would promote reading because we're reinforcing it with the same function, but something more more enjoyable. Okay.
Promote some adult behavior or illicit responsibility. Okay. Presentation of reward.
Sometimes the presentation of reward may promote some addictive behaviors or elicit responses that compete with the target behavior. Let's say the use of aversive stimulus, which is negative reinforcement. Anyone has anything to add?
No.
Okay, loss of motivation. How is that?
Maybe due to satiation, overexposure of the reinforcement.
The what?
I'm saying maybe satiation, or we are providing a reinforcer for long duration.
Yes,
So-
and because we're mainly focused on external or contrived reinforcers rather than natural reinforcers, right?
Yes.
Yes, so they're not motivated enough. Bribery. Is bribery a reinforcer?
No.
No, but people tend to think that bribery is a reinforcer, and especially parents that we work with, they always use bribery when we tell them use reinforcer with their kids. And so this could promote immoral behavior. And this is always like, if you do this, I will give you this. Or if you do what I'm asking you to do, I will give you the toy. Okay?
Bribery will be when someone else is getting getting benefit from that.
Right.
If client is getting
Yeah,
benefit,
it's mainly the one,
yeah.
the adult rather than the kid himself.
Yeah.
It's reinforcing ourselves.
Yes.
That's right. Let me add it. What should I call ourselves? Not the adult, reinforcing.
The person giving the
Person.
Giving the bribe.
mm-hmm.
Giving what?
The reward, I guess, or the bribe.
Yeah, the bribe. Not decline. Okay. Harmful reinforcement, what could they be?
It may be over excess use of chocolates or smoke,
Yeah.
providing
Sugar, yeah.
Sometimes we may give them edibles that we think are okay, but let's say if he's gluten-free and we didn't know,
Yeah.
that would be too harmful.
unhealthy items or unhealthy edible items.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, behavior contrast. Behavior contrast is one of the unwanted effects of all of them: punishment, reinforcement, and extinction. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What is behavior contrast?
Behavior is decreasing in one setting and increasing in one setting.
Correct.
So the effect of the because due to the intervention, behavior is increasing in another setting.
Okay. So let's write it down. Sorry. So let's put.
I don't know definition of anything.
In one setting, rate of responding increases in one setting, and decreases in the other.
Right.
Yes. Rate of responding is increasing in one setting.
But decreases, is it due to any change? No, right? Or is it? Right? Let me look.
Mm-hmm. Let me look it up too.
So in past the big ABA, they say when the rate of responding to a stimulus in one setting changes when the condition of reinforcement in the other setting gets modified. Um,
And Cooper says the phenomenon in which a change in one component of a multiple schedule that increases or decreases the rate of responding on that component is accompanied by a change in the response rate in the opposite direction on the other unaltered component of the schedule.
so opposite, okay.
Mhm.
But then, so changes
Uh,
must be the same in both, or no, we do.
There is a easiest definition is provided by Bass.
Mhm.
Responding increases in unpunished situation or setting. Rate of responding increases in unpunished situation or setting.
So,
Easy to remember because short.
Mhm.
so rate of responding increases in
Unpunished situations or setting.
Okay, but decreases in another.
They just mentioned this one in a Bass.
Okay, let me see in Meyer. I had it open earlier and I accidentally. So behavioral contrast in Meyer, it says, when a procedure that decreases behavior is introduced into one context, the behavior maintained in another context may increase, despite no other change in the contingency directly affecting the latter. This increase is called positive behavior contrast. So it's both, there's a change in one setting, but not in the other. And
Right.
so it goes to the second one, which is there, we have two behavior contrasts. We have positive
And negative.
Mhm.
and negative. So in positive is, so it increases for a more, what did we read? A more, so it increases. So in past the big ABA, it says a phenomenon in which a behavior increases for a potentially more favorable reinforcer after being exposed to a reinforcer that has become less favorable. And the negative one is a decrease for a less favorable reinforcer after being exposed to a reinforcer that is clearly more favorable. Do you want me to give you examples? The example they're giving?
Sure.
So for the positive, because it's an increase after being exposed to a more, for a potentially more favorable reinforcer, after being exposed to a reinforcer that has become less favorable. The example is, like, let's say Skinner in his operand chamber with his pigeon programmed two light up keys, blue and yellow, and food to be delivered to his pigeon when his pigeon pecked at the blue and yellow keys at equal rates. So when they pick at equal rates, food is delivered. In his experiment, Skinner now stops the yellow key from delivering food, which is the reinforcer, which the pigeon doesn't like. Now this is a less favorable reinforcer for the pigeon. Due to this change, the pigeon increases blue key pecking, even though the frequency of reinforcement remains the same for the blue key pecking. So they increase their behavior of pecking on the blue because he stopped giving the reinforcer for the yellow, right? But he is still giving the same amount of reinforcer, even if the behavior increased. Yes? No?
Okay.
For the negative, I'll give the example. Start of a relationship when moved in together. You pick up your significant other's socks 3 times per day, which he or she likes. It's a reinforcer. Over the time, and today, you stop the behavior of picking up their socks, which he or she does not like, so it's not reinforcing anymore. Now, let's say his behavior of picking up their own socks decreases lower than she ever did in the first place, below baseline level.
I'm sorry, that made me laugh. Moral of the story, don't pick up anybody's socks.
Is it clear or no? Should we?
Yes.
Let's put a small sentence to make it more clear for whoever is going to be watching. So increase in the behavior what should increase in the behavior for a more
Favorable.
reinforcer after being exposed to okay. For negative, it's the opposite. It's decrease in the behavior because they were exposed to more favorable. They were exposed to. It's a decrease because they were exposed to less favorable after being exposed to more favorable, right? For it says okay, so I will have to end up in less than 10 minutes, okay? And then we'll send you another link for the Zoom. Decrease in the behavior for a less favorable reinforcer after being exposed to a more favorable one. Okay? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay. Try to plan for these unwanted effects of performance. For these, what should we do?
Well, I guess you plan to have more contact with natural reinforcers, I would think.
Correct. Use more natural. Let's try using more natural reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
But if need to use contrived, then contrived reinforcers, then have a plan to fade out into more natural ones, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? And how do we have that plan to fade out into more natural ones?
With pairing,
With pairing, so condition reinforcement, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is by pairing. We try reinforcers with natural ones. Condition reinforcement. Okay. What else? And it's also like condition reinforcement and generalized reinforcement, right?
so the first point you mentioned, try using more natural reinforcement. It will come under the thinning reinforcement or intermittent reinforcement, or we have to write that point separately.
Under thinning, which one?
I'm saying thinning intermittent reinforcement.
Yes.
Like we give the CRF first, right? And then we thin it. So slowly we thin. Yeah.
That comes under contrived reinforcers, correct?
Okay.
I would think so. Yeah.
This
That's
is
why I'm
what-
asking for just clarification. Yeah. Okay. It will come in a second point, contrived reinforcer.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll put, do you want me to put moving from a CRF to intermittent schedule reinforcer?
I would say also, wouldn't you try to like ensure that you keep a big MO on the client? Because I would think that
Yeah, you are right.
yeah. So because some of the things I had listed for unwanted effects was encourage only extrinsically motivated behaviors. So you want to make sure that you're addressing that. Also, may encourage other unwanted behaviors. I had also put reinforcers may become the focus and distract people from the desired behaviors. So I guess you try to build that motivation for wanting to have those behaviors. Yeah, I guess it also could be covered with that natural reinforcement, but
yeah, let's look at a third point just to pinpoint it. So let's reformulate it. Promote intrinsic motivation.
yeah.
Do you want me to say more?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
I have a question. And also in the list that I have with the questions for the test list, it says here, at what point in treatment do you consider the unwanted effects of reinforcement?
At what point of the treatment you consider?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would say throughout the whole treatment, right?
Throughout the whole treatment, we need to plan for fading out those reinforcement. And
Right.
I think when we start feeling that the reinforcer, like we said, is the main focus rather than the motivation, right?
Right.
What was the options for that question?
There were none. It was written on the task list questions on the study group, and I've been trying to complete that. And I just couldn't think of anything other than throughout the whole thing. I just wanted to make sure that I checked with somebody else to see what you thought.
Okay. Or maybe after acquiring, but unwanted effect, we have to check all the time.
We shouldn't be waiting to acquire unwanted effects, right? We should interfere.
No, it just says you at what point of the treatment do you consider the unwanted effects of reinforcement? I mean, I would think that
Yeah, from the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole treatment, that's what I thought.
Because we know what could be the unwanted effects of reinforcement. So we just listed them. So we should have a plan for each just in case it happens. We know how to
Mm-hmm.
react to them. I think from the start.
Yeah.
Okay, let me stop this. And so what do? I stop recording and then, because the other day it continued, I don't know how.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I stopped sharing and I stopped recording and I send a new,
Yeah,
I end the meeting and I send a new one.
as far as I know.
Okay, let me do that.